We know, though, in the state of Ohio that this test is mandated for students that are involved in special ed, and that's not always the case in all states, but in Ohio it is a state-mandated test. So it's typically given for the ages of 36 months to 72 months, so that's 3 years up to 6 years. Okay, so that is why Abby completed that. Next was social, emotional, and behavioral. There was not a particular assessment in her file for this. This was based off of observations and input from her teachers that worked with her in the classroom. And what we found from this was that Abby often completed what they called protest in class. If she had difficulty with a school subject, if she had difficulty with another student, if there was something that she didn't want to do, she would protest when she didn't get her way. So it was noted at the beginning of the school year that Abby would protest between 5 to 7 times per day, ranging from 30 seconds up to 30 minutes for the longest lasting ones. So what we can see is that these protests she's doing in class and at school can take up a considerable amount of time, a considerable amount of class time when she does have them. What they observed again in November, so a difference of 3 months, was that Abby had gone down in the amount of time she was protesting in class, and that went from, again, 5 to 7 times per day to 1 to 2 times per day, and from 1 minute to 3 minutes in duration. So she was making progress in those 3 months since the beginning of the school year when she completed her recent evaluations and observations through her teachers. So we are seeing progress there. The individuals that were involved in monitoring this were her special education teacher, and then also her classroom teacher, as well as the school psychologist. So those are the 3 individuals that were able to offer up information in the way of observations for Abby in social, emotional, and behavioral health. Next, when we talk about speech and language, we found out that Abby was given the clinical evaluation of language fundamentals, preschool 2. So we found that her expressive language, which is how she expresses herself to others, fell within the developmental range between 42 to 54 months. So roughly that of a 4-year-old. So a little bit lower than some of her same-aged peers. This type of evaluation is important because it helps us learn the current level of speech that a student is at. When we are aware of that speech level that the student is at, then we can begin to put supports in place if need be. Okay, so if a student needs speech support, which in this case Abby will, we are able to see what types of supports we can put in place and what will be successful for her in the classroom. And Abby does work with a speech-language pathologist, so she does have someone that assists her and helps her in developing those supports and taking out those supports. So when we talk about adaptive behavior, she was given the Adaptive Behavior Assessment 2 edition. This is a very common assessment that is given to a lot of students in special education. It measures academics, it measures living skills, measures leisure activities, measures social skills, and it measures communication. And these skills are developed through a lot of different ways, academically, through interactions with other students, interactions with school staff. There's lots of different ways that these skills are developed. But those are the 5 main ways that the adaptive behavior assessment is measured. Observations. Throughout Abby's time at school, she's been observed multiple times, both through the special education teacher and her general education teacher, as well as school psychologist. The main thing that staff noticed when they observed her was that Abby's eyes wandered a whole lot. She had a lot of eye drifting, what they term eccentric viewing. So they monitored the amount of time that her eyes wandered, when they wandered, and times that they were not wandering quite as much. So in looking at all these assessments that they gave her, She does continue to qualify for special education services under the category of other health impairment, or what they call OHI, and she will continue to qualify for that. She would benefit from small group instruction, a smaller classroom in areas where she struggles, as well as provided targeted instruction. Her reading comprehension skills, math, and writing are all goals that she could have based off of these findings.